Hello, and welcome to the next episode of The Brand-Driven CEO, a wonderful series of one-on-one discussions, explorations with some of the most senior executives in Canada. But an important distinction, senior executives who manage through the lens of their brand. And the purpose of this is to also bring some of the key themes and topics that are in our last book, The Brand-Driven CEO, to light. I'm thrilled today to have as one of our probably longest running clients at Level5, Susan O'Brien, the Executive Vice President and Chief Brand and Customer Officer of Canadian Tire. The Canadian Tire brand is consistently one of the top 10 most valued brands. I tried to go back as far as I could. And I went back, I found brand valuations from 15 years ago.
Yep.
And it's always been in the top 10.
Yep.
It's not only been the most valuable brand, but it's a brand that has stood the test of time and has always, therefore, been relevant to Canadians. So I wonder if you could tell us, over that storied history, what elements of the brand and its story, even if it's just in the 15 years that you've had responsibility for it, what's been maintained? What are the core equities of the Canadian Tire brand?
Yeah. I mean, I hope you don't mind. I might actually go back 100 years instead of just the 15. If you go back into our history, we started as a tire company. And that was because the Billes brothers saw a need. As cars were becoming part of people's lives, they needed tires. And then, of course, they needed auto service. What happened was, over the years, they built up this unbelievable understanding of what Canadians needed. Because to go from a tire company into a multi-category conglomerate, it means you had to necessarily understand what was next. What would you decide to assort? What types of businesses are you going into at each consecutive milestone? And so their ability to really understand Canadians is the core of our business. It quite literally is what differentiates us. I always think of our dealer model, our sort of franchise model, if you will. When you look back at that decision to have this company be formulated based on a dealer relationship, it was because we believed at the time that we had to understand what was happening in local markets, in this vast country of ours. The belief that having local entrepreneurs in those markets was really going to keep us close to Canadians and their needs. What we've kept as the core of our business is our ability to understand Canadians' needs better than any other retailer, and frankly, to be able to assort and curate what they need. So it's one thing to understand it, it's another to have a real capability in saying, we know exactly that type of fishing lure you need in that particular lake because that is the kind of fish you want to catch. And then the second I would be remiss to overlook is the idea of community. And by having that dealer network, we also understood the needs of the community other than what we wanted to sell them. What did they need for support? And that has become a part of our DNA. And no matter how much we evolve, 100 years from today, I guarantee you, understanding Canadians better than anyone else and being part of the local community will still be there.
So it's obvious that this was a conscious, strategic effort. Let me ask you, when you talk about the ability to understand Canadians and you understand about the role of community, I would always hold that up as Canadians better than anybody else, partly because you are in the community. The business model that delivers the brand through the franchise system you talked about as being a strategic decision, that's the way we wanted to structure the company in order to deliver the brand.
Absolutely.
I know you weren't around 100 years ago, but Was that a cause-effect relationship? Because brand is a business system. What better way to prove it than to deliver the model of the company around the promise of the brand?
I wasn't there, but I can tell you the fact that the dealer model has evolved through all of the years together, we would still say today it's our secret sauce. Our desire to take that understanding, which is at the core of our brand, and then in the world today, evolve that to build on top of what dealers did in their local, continue to do in their local market. That's the sort of evidence that this company can really evolve. But when you say, what would you do now to even deepen that understanding further? That's when it gets really interesting and you get into a company that understands how to evolve for the future. Some of the new things we've been doing these days to deepen that understanding of Canadians, of course, revolve around new capabilities in the world today. So loyalty program, evolving from that iconic Canadian Tire Money program that was at one banner. And that iconic program carried through, and we kept parts of it that made sense, but we evolved it for today's Canadians. So we took what was a single banner paper money program and we evolved it into Triangle Rewards, which is a multi-banner digital loyalty program, which is wonderful because we have a long history of rewarding Canadians for being loyal to us. But the real magic in it is it deepens our understanding of Canadians even further. We literally can understand at an individual customer level what they might need for the future.